at least volunteer. That's the easiest thing you can do, volunteer. But from there you grow, and when you become engaged with things about the neighborhood, the city, then passion comes out. What you really care for.
I started and got inspired by you guys, and Luis said it's really just the passion, right? And the people that work at the city. I think you have to have the heart for public service to really be here for 17, 22 years like these guys have been.
Hey, Big Ideas Raleigh listeners. Welcome back to another exciting episode where we dive deep into the heartbeat of our Oak City. I'm Dan Bagley, your host and guide on this journey of exploration. Excited to be joined once again by one of our executive producers, Dr. Sarah Glova.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for the warm welcome. I'm so excited to dive into today's episode.
I feel the same, Sarah, because today we're putting the spotlight on something near and dear to our hearts: community involvement in city planning and neighborhoods. And when I say city planning, we just mean the steps that are involved with the process of designing and planning new buildings, parks, and roads to make sure that they're more accessible, attractive, and convenient for our residents. But here's the twist. Through the Planning Academy and the Raleigh Neighborhood College, we're empowering residents to get involved. Joining us today to go over this information are two incredible individuals who are at the forefront of engaging Raleigh residents and shaping the future of our city. First, we have Olivieri-Robert, Community Relations Analyst in Neighborhood Enrichment Services at the City of Raleigh Housing and Neighborhoods Department. Luis, we're thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you.
And second, we have Katie Dombrowski, Communications Administrator with the City of Raleigh. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, to kick things off, we'd like to have a little fun, a little icebreaker. And we play a game called Two Facts and a False. This is where I'll give you two facts, or three facts, and one fact is going to be false, and you have to pick what that one is.
Okay.
But to spice it up a little bit, it's going to be Katie and Luis versus Sarah.
Oh, boy.
All right. Listeners, I hope that you will play along at home. Are you guys ready to try it?
Yes.
All right, here we go. A, grassroots community building prioritizes local solutions tailored to be specific needs and context of the community. B, grassroots communities can only succeed with heavy resilience on external funding and resources. Or C, education within grassroots communities empowers individuals to become active agents of change in their own lives.
Okay, so those were three statements.
Who's going to pick first?
I'll let our guests go first. Which
Okay.
statement do you think is false? I think I know what my choice
It's
is.
not easy, but
It's not easy, but I think it's B. We think it's B.
Okay, Sarah, do you
I was
have a
also
choice?
going to say B, so we're on team B.
Well, aren't you guys a bunch of smarty pants? You are correct. It
Yes.
is B. That statement is incorrect because while external support can complement grassroots efforts, sustainable community building relies primarily on local ownership, resourcefulness, and resilience. Well
Indeed.
done.
Well done to you too,
Cheers.
sir, because you got us talking about grassroots pretty early on here. I feel like we're hinting at a theme today, maybe.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit about empowering residents through building communities.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So we'd love to hear a little bit about you guys first. So Katie, as a communications administrator with the City of Raleigh, what do you do?
Yeah, cool title. What does that look
It
like
is a
day
cool
to day?
Thank you. Yes, communications administrator, super official. So I work in the city's what we call corporate communications department. There's communication support in all of our departments internally, but I support multiple departments in my role with strategic communication guidance and engagement guidance when it comes to how we communicate with our residents and our stakeholders.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I work with several departments right now. I work with planning and development, solid waste services, engineering services, transportation, community engagement.
That's 5 departments.
Yes, we have 21, 24 departments, offices. I don't know if that's the right number. Is
And
that
you
right?
have 25% of them.
There's 4 of us. There's me and 3 others that we split all the departments across the
And
city.
so with that team, you cover all the departments across the
Yes.
city. Wow.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Luis, you're a community relations analyst in Neighborhood Enrichment Services with the City of Raleigh, the Housing and Neighborhoods Department. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
well, I get paid to connect and talk with people.
That's not a bad job.
Simple way to say it. But yeah, I coordinate the Raleigh Neighborhood College program we have for 22 years. Also, the Hispanic Latin Initiative, which we're trying to grow to multilingual, multicultural in the next coming month or year. And I also help with other programs that we have with neighborhood funding and festival equipment, but pretty much connecting with people, neighborhoods, providing resources, guidance to what the people want to do in their neighborhoods because they know them better than we do. So
yeah, that's fascinating. Actually, they know better than we do. You're right. And you said 22 years with the city.
22 and 4 months.
You haven't counted the
Wow.
month. I guess after 20 years, you start counting the months as well. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service.
All right.
So, believe it or not, I've been with the city for about 18 years now, and I've seen how crucial it is that residents play a role in shaping the future of the city. So, my first question is for both of you. I'd love to hear some of the ways that the city is currently working with Raleigh residents in this process. Can you share what's your big idea in your department right now related to residents and their involvement?
So I would say right now, the biggest thing that we have going on is the update of our comprehensive plan, which is forthcoming and will happen very soon. But that is an opportunity for residents to provide guidance on how we are going to move forward and grow as a city, right? As an organization, as a municipal government, we create a lot of policy and a lot of rules around things, and we enforce a lot. But what guides that policy? How does the public influence how we do things like build roads, build parks, make those connections, implement transit plans? And so as we begin to ask the community to come in and speak to us about the comprehensive plan, there's an opportunity to say things like, I want my city to feel safe, and I want my city to feel, I want it to be accessible. I want it to be affordable. I want it to be beautiful, right? There are all sorts of things that we want to do as a community and that we want our residents to feel they're part of. And so by engaging in our comprehensive plan and really any of the public engagement opportunities that we have in parks and transit and planning and development, those are all opportunities for our residents and our stakeholders to give feedback on what we do as a city and how we move forward together.
Wow. Now, can I ask a question about this
Please.
comprehensive plan? What is that like a living document that's always updated, or is that something that was updated a while ago and now we're updating it again? Like what is this?
So kind of both, right? Yeah. So it is a document right now. We're exploring ways to make the document more accessible for the community and not something that just really more that we use internally as staff. And so we're not sure what that looks like yet, but that's part of, I think, the process of engaging with the community because it's a multi-year process.
Yeah.
But however, we do make updates and amendments is what they're called to our comprehensive plan when we need to make small changes as we move forward with projects.
So it's like a document that guides
it's like advice
for
our
whole
policy.
city,
whole
for
city.
everyone to refer to. Wow.
So who, you say guides, you've said guide a couple times. Who are these folks guiding that process?
Sure. So it's our city staff, right? Mostly in our planning and development department, we have city planners, and they are the ones who are kind of engaging with the community and sharing where we are now, where we could grow, and collecting that feedback on things like where do you ride your bike on a trail and then you can't get to a park? Or where are you riding your bike? Or where are you walking and the sidewalk ends? Or I don't have retail or stores or shopping or a grocery store here, or I got a letter about rezoning near my neighborhood. What does that mean? Okay. All of those things are part of this process. And I think, too, if you're able to participate, I think you guys mentioned our Planning Academy. That's a great way for people to sign up and kind of dive a little deeper into some of this stuff and meet our city planners. You meet them face to face, you engage with city leaders and other people who are moving these things like the comprehensive plan and our unified development ordinance, which is our rules and gets like really in the weeds on rezonings and zoning rules and things like that. So things like the Planning Academy allow us to kind of dive into those processes with the community and share so that they can feel, to your point earlier, empowered to engage with us along the way.
Okay.
Maybe this will get to Luis's answer, but is the Raleigh Planning Academy, is that the same as the Raleigh Neighborhood College? These are two different things?
It's not, and that's actually a really great question. And I think this is, as you put it, a good opportunity for Luis. If you want to expand on what Katie was saying, and I'd like to come back to the topic about the Planning Academy in just a moment, but Luis, I want to give you a moment to talk about the same question.
Yeah, I think our bread and butter, I'm not going to use meat and potatoes. I don't eat meat, but our bread and butter are neighbors and neighborhoods.
Okay.
So in our programs, we provide opportunities for neighbors to connect at their own neighborhood, like providing funding, equipment, providing information on a specific session with the HOA, something like that. But also for neighbors from different neighborhoods to gather, like with the Neighborhood College, the Citizen Leadership Academy, and other programs that we have. Connect Raleigh brings it citywide. So neighbors and neighborhoods, that's our main thing. Opportunities for engagement, for involvement, for participation, at least volunteer. That's the easiest thing you can do, volunteer. But from there you grow.
Okay.
And when you become engaged with things about the neighborhood, the city, then passion comes out. What you really care for. So that's what we like to see. People getting involved, engaged. Anything that brings them together to make their city, their neighborhood, their community a better place to live and play and work.
Okay, well then, I love where you're taking this, and I think let's just kind of jump right into this. You talked about a planning academy, you talked about the Citizens Leadership Academy. Why don't you give me your thoughts into the various ways residents can get involved, with these planning processes? What does it look like? How do they do it? And what do they get out of it?
Can I tell you a story about the Citizen Leadership Academy before Luis answers that question?
Let's hear it.
So I don't know if you guys, well, I know you don't know this, and anyone listening probably doesn't know this either, but Dan and Luis actually taught the Citizen Leadership Academy when I took it in, I think, 2016 or 2017.
Yeah, those are some good years.
Wait, these two guys here taught in the Citizen Leadership Academy?
And I did not work at the city
You weren't
yet.
working
So
at
I
the
was
city
a
yet.
resident. Like we're talking about, I was a resident. I did not work. I actually worked in RTP. And I was like, how can I get more involved downtown? Because I live downtown. I loved being in Raleigh. And so I signed up, and they were actually the teachers. And so because of that class, like I actually got interested in getting a job at the city. And I think like 6 months later, I applied to a few jobs, did a few different interviews, and made my way into communications and planning and development.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Katie,
so it's
Katie
an
was
incredible
our star
program.
students.
Okay, so I need to be taking more notes because I have Citizen Leadership Academy, the Planning Academy, Raleigh Neighborhood College. These are all ways to get involved. In Katie's unique situation, it was a way to get interested in working at the city. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And it's just the little things, that you take away from these classes that I'd love for you guys to talk about. And, what inspired you to then say, hey, you know what? I want to work for the city. What was it about Citizens Leadership Academy? Maybe we should start with you, Luis. What is the Citizens Leadership Academy? And then, Katie, you can talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Let me follow the timeline. Neighborhood College began in 2002, spring 2002, 22 years ago.
So Neighborhood College is a different program than the Citizen Leadership Academy. Okay.
And I'll explain. We got the idea from Hampton, Virginia. One of our coworkers came from Hampton, Virginia. And it was an opportunity to provide citizens, residents, neighbors with be able to meet staff, learn about how city departments and offices and divisions work, what they do, that connection with a particular staff member, that they can call and follow up, email, connect with. So we start in spring 2002 with it was an 8-week long program. We had a graduation at the end. Now we do 11 weeks, still do the graduation, more departments, more divisions. I think we're up to 21, 22 that people connect with along
so
those
during the
11 weeks.
they connect with over 20 different departments at the city.
Yes.
And then there's a
yes.
graduation ceremony. Is there swag? Can I get a Raleigh Neighborhood
We
College
do.
shirt? Oh
We
my
do.
That
gosh.
sounds awesome.
All right, I'm tempted. Okay.
You do.
We know people.
And they have homework. I mean, it's college, so you have homework. You have to do a report on a city board, commission, or council meeting. What did you learn? Which were the
So they had to go
topics?
out to these meetings.
Yes. Well, now even if it is an evening meeting and you cannot get a phone, you can watch the live stream options. But also the major project is either get your neighborhood registered, interview a city staff, apply for funding for neighborhood projects. So there are options things that you can do as a graduation requirement. So you can get your certificate and be part of the Alumni Association. CLA began in 2006.
And that's that Citizen Leadership Academy.
Citizen Leadership Academy, right. And it's 9 weeks, different modules, leadership development, group dynamics, your leadership style. So it's more, you can do more like small groups work, and then they present, they showcase their projects, their displays. So it's different dynamic, but again, capacity building, both, people learning. Most of them bring already experience and background and their own assets. So we like to, take those to the next level,
Can you give me an example of, like you said, they bring their own assets. Why is that important, and what are these assets you're talking about?
Some of our students, they've been active in HOA, for example, board directors. Some of them have been active in nonprofit organizations, city, county, state level. So that's good. That's a plus, because that's stuff they're bringing, experiences to the class that they can share. Some of our students actually went to the Neighborhood College or CLA, and later they became city council members,
Oh, wow.
boards commission members, General Assembly member also. So
All because of this class.
or VIP, very much needed city staff like Katie.
Absolutely.
People who shine. So again, it's
helps
a
inspire.
passion. What you want to do for the city in any capacity. This is a great way to start.
And just to be clear, we're talking about Katie's amazing example of how it led her to the city and
Right.
how it leads other folks to things like city council. But that's not necessarily, it's not designed as a pathway or like an orientation to city opportunities.
point.
The projects that you mentioned, Luis, that are part of the graduation, it could be registering your neighborhood or applying for funding for so this really could just be for folks who want to better leverage and understand the city's resources.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you were talking about the Planning Academy.
Sure.
Is that the same course, or
So
what are we
it's
looking at here?
it's kind of come full circle, right? Because I started and got inspired by you guys, and Luis said it's really just the passion, right? And the people that work at the city. I think you have to have the heart for public service to really be here for 17, 22 years like these guys have been. And so now what we've done in planning and development is kind of modeled our planning academy and that structure of kind of the cadence of how often they were doing it and what were the goals and how were we trying to engage and connect them. We modeled that after the Raleigh Neighborhood College and after the Citizen Leadership Academy, because those programs have been so successful.
Right.
And so now, I have had the opportunity to actually teach at the Raleigh Neighborhood College.
The student has become the teacher.
And again, I get to teach at the Planning Academy too, which I love to do. And they've really taken it and run with it. We have, I think, had 7 or 8 planning academies already.
Oh, wow.
With 25 participants at each one. So that's almost 200 residents. Is that
When did
math
that
right?
start?
You're doing all right. You're doing good.
I don't do math. I'm
200
in
to
communications.
225.
I don't
You're
do
good.
math. The Planning Academy started, I feel like it was early last year, or maybe late 20. What year is
Did
it?
it
Late
start-
2022.
what year is it?
I can't remember.
For sure during COVID.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
So it started during COVID, or did it start after COVID?
I think so.
I don't
Was it in
remember.
person when you started it?
2021, 2022.
It was in person we started because it was really important for us to be in person.
probably
So
late
I do think we
2020,
started early last year. I think I'm right with that, because it's important for us for our residents to meet the staff in person, to meet the city planners,
Absolutely.
to meet the people who are in front of council and taking the feedback that they hear from residents in these meetings to the Planning Commission.
great.
And to our leadership to try to move these things forward. So it was very important to us and to Pat, the Planning and Development Director, that We were meeting face to face, that we were engaging in fellowship. We have dinner together before the academy, which we got from Citizen Leadership Academy. I really like that part of coming in early and
breaking bread
and talking with city staff, talking with other residents about things before we went into the program, which is why we do that in the Planning Academy.
That's fantastic.
So there's Raleigh Neighborhood College that started first in 2002, and then we got the Citizen Leadership Academy, and now most recently we've gotten the Planning Academy. So these are 3 pretty serious ways for folks to get involved. But I think Katie was talking earlier about other engagement opportunities.
Yeah, it would be wonderful if you guys could share some examples of resident-led projects, conversations that have made tangible impacts, on Raleigh's development.
Sure.
What would that
Because they
look
don't
like?
always happen in these kind of like 8 or 9 or 11-week courses. Those are one area that folks can join.
Well, and that's the challenge, right? Because there are things that go on in the city. There's growth that happens that, frankly, we can't give a lot of feedback on, right? Because it's private development. And as long as they're following the rules of the zoning and, our building code for the state, they're allowed to build what they want to build there. And sometimes that is hard for people to reconcile, that they can't give feedback. But then there are other opportunities with rezonings and things like the former DMV site that's going to be along the New Bern Avenue corridor. Our community engagement office is working with, it has just announced a community working group that is going to be trying to speak with the developers or potential people who want to do something with that site. What does the community want to see? What are we going to have there temporarily as the bus rapid transit or BRT line starts to get built over there? And what will be on that site? What can we imagine together as a community, with the development community, with the municipal government, with our neighbors, all together as one? So there's all sorts of opportunities like that where you can join, be a community ambassador or be in a working group or join one of our boards and commissions and kind of have that influence and that impact from that side as well.
All right, so what is a community ambassador? And then how do you get involved?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have community ambassadors in housing, but I know for planning and development where we have them is for our bus rapid transit line. The planners in that department implement what is called station area planning. You might see that abbreviated as SAP. We love acronyms in government. So there's BRT for bus rapid transit. There's SAP for station area planning. And that is, as you see our transit line get built out and the stations are implemented, what's going to be built around those stations, right? Like, how are we going to get access to parks? Am I going to be able to walk to a grocery store or some other retail place? So with station area planning, our planners, we do online applications. If you follow us on social media, a lot of our departments have social media where they're putting out opportunities for engagement and participation. But you apply to be an ambassador, and then you can come and kind of participate in our public meetings. The goal is for you to get information and then share it with your neighbors, right? Or post it on your own social media. Extend the city's network through your own network as a resident, as a local influencer, maybe, that we have a lot of those here. So as you make those connections, as people become ambassadors for things, they're amplifying our messages and our opportunities at the city for people to engage in this stuff.
I love that, amplifying the city's message. That's pretty cool. Sarah, let me ask you this. Being the non-city worker here right now.
That's right. I'm alone in being a not city employee. And by far, again, because Katie emphasized it already, but almost 18 years, over 22 years. There's a lot of city experience.
And how much, Katie? How many times?
I'm at 7 years.
7. That's still a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
Right. So my question is, if you wanted to take part, what would make you want to go and seek out these opportunities to work or be a part of the city process?
That's a great question. I mean, I think everyone's different, but what I love out of this conversation is how many different opportunities there are. I see a lot of opportunities for participation online. I'm somebody who's very digital. And so I see, surveys or requests for feedback, but that is just the tip of the iceberg, it sounds like. I'm a nerd. I would love to go to Raleigh Neighborhood College. I'm kind of offended that I haven't done it already. That's on me. But knowing that there are these programs is one thing. knowing that that's just one option is so much bigger to me.
Right.
And the idea that if you're somebody who's social and you want to represent your neighborhood, being an ambassador,
Right.
going and hearing messages and then bringing them back to the neighborhoods where you live in Raleigh, that's so amazing.
It's powerful.
What I love is it's almost like you could take a personality test, and whatever kind of personality you get, there's some kind of program or opportunity that fits you that you could choose to get involved with.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, Luis.
Yeah, well, Sarah just mentioned for the digital life is an app generation. Raleigh Neighborhood College, we offer virtual in the morning and in person in the evening. And that began during COVID. So we said we can't stop offering this. Let's do a virtual session. So we do hour and a half in the morning. I think hour and a half is good enough to be facing a screen.
Yeah.
And then the 2 hour in person in the evening. So we got those options fall and spring.
That's great. That's great. That's
you do one or
meeting
the
people
other.
where they're at. You know, if they can't make it,
Right.
do a virtual. I commend you. That's really cool.
We try to do that with the Planning Academy. We offer a midweek evening, 4-week, I think 5-week program right now. We try to find it in places that are accessible by transit and that have parking for people to try to be offer convenience that way. But then we are also shifting to offer a Friday night and Saturday class. So you come meet Friday, meet your class, get the introduction, and then we really dive in all day on Saturday to kind of try to, again, meet people where they are. Not everyone can come for 4 or 5 weeks straight on a Wednesday night. So it's a way to try to be in person, but also offer some flexibility.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. That was really helpful. But now we need to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back with Big Ideas Raleigh podcast. Hey, welcome back to Big Ideas Raleigh podcast. Let's jump right back into this conversation, Katie and Luis. Let's talk about the challenges and opportunities. What are some of the things your offices consider when they're trying to engage Raleigh residents, you know, in these discussions?
Probably the biggest challenge that I see is the city growth.
Oh, okay.
I mean, more when I joined the city, I think we had 320,000. We're approaching 500,000, or if not already over 500,000. Being able to reach out and connect and hopefully engage with residents, that's a big challenge. You know, more neighborhoods, more development, which is good. It's profit, it's revenue. But again, our list of registered neighborhoods is close to 400, but we have probably over 750 neighborhoods in Raleigh.
Okay, so you just said list of registered neighborhoods.
Registered.
What are you
Okay.
talking about?
Good question. Thank you. We offer a program that is called the Raleigh Neighborhood Registry,
Raleigh Neighborhood Registry.
where residents, neighbors, they decide their boundaries. It can be the ones established by the development company, and they can fill the form. Who's the leadership? Chair, co-chair, vice chair, secretary. Send a map of those boundaries. We get that on the website. There's a map that you can click and see which neighborhoods are registered, and they can apply for funding. They can use our festival equipment. We'd love for them, at least one or two, to join RNC, CLA, our capacity building programs, and get the whole package. So the registry. So I think the biggest challenge right now, what I see is growth. More neighborhoods, more people we want to reach out, connect with. But again, the staff limitations, time, budget is always a challenge. We never have enough budget. That's
Budget is always tough. And if I'm not mistaken, part of that budget goes to funds that these registered neighborhoods can use. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what do they do with these funds?
We have $20,000 every fiscal year that they can use, apply, and staff reviews their application. They can use for block parties, landscaping in common areas, neighborhood signage, get creative, an event that can combine music and arts. Start a community garden, which is pretty much on fashion now, providing food for those that, don't have access to food or are limited in food access. So again, we have ideas, but it's our wish for those to come from the neighbors, get creative and hopefully you can do something different every year. So you're going to apply for the same thing every year, get creative. So max $1,000 for level 2, that you can match with volunteer hours, which we rate at $30 an hour.
Wow.
And the level 1 is $250, which you can usually, get food, do a block party, meet and greet, and start from there.
So when you use this term capacity building earlier, I feel like what you're sharing now is an example of that. First, it's the step of if I live in a neighborhood and if I go on this map and I see that our neighborhood isn't registered, then I can take that initiative and try to register, get some of my neighbors to join me in leadership. We figure out who's going to help run this thing. And then you said we can choose to do CLA, the Citizen Leadership Academy, or something like that to learn more about the resources we can build into our neighborhood. But then we can decide, all right, what are the assets we have here? You said that word assets earlier. And what do we want to help improve or amplify within our neighborhood? Is our neighborhood doing really great and we just want more people and connection, and that means we're going to host a block party? Or do we want to do a community garden or improve the landscaping, make it more sustainable? There's so many different options, but what I'm hearing is it's not the city going out to neighborhoods and saying, we want to do XYZ, please give us your feedback. It's you're listening. Yeah, the neighborhoods are creating it. And that sounds to me like this capacity building in motion. It's building up the capacity of the folks in these neighborhoods to bring people together and to request participation from the city in improving what's around them.
Right, absolutely.
And especially when you have neighborhoods that, are probably 100 years old, like Boylan Heights, or some of the newer neighborhoods, and you get a mix of different demographics, generations, so something that I love to see, younger kids connecting with older people, stories, so much, stuff. We also starting this year the Neighborhood Histories Project. So neighborhoods can either publish, make a mural, do something, an archive, a digital website, photos, oral history about the neighborhood. So there's already a couple projects out there, but we would like to support more, Again, apply for the level 2, $1,000, and let's see what you can do.
So you're looking to celebrate the history of these neighborhoods and pass that on, so that doesn't get lost. That's pretty cool.
No, how about language? You mentioned language earlier, and I think you said the name of a program that I missed. I tried to write it down. Something about language, because when we're talking about these histories, a lot of different languages. How are we dealing with that?
In 1998, we began the Hispanic Latin Initiative, and it was just reaching out to Spanish-speaking population, so they could know about the city departments, information, city ordinances. Now, 20 plus years after, we realize that it's not only Spanish, it's also Swahili, Arabic, and Mandarin. Besides English, those are the most spoken languages in Raleigh, between 3 and 5% of the population. So that's a challenge, a nice, great, exciting challenge for the years to come. So we have provided the Neighborhood College, the Spanish version, now in its third year, both virtual and in person. Right now we're doing an in-person group of 10.
That's great.
6 weeks, more basic. What I see is a department that people connect the most, police, Parks and Rec, fire, get Raleigh Water, solid waste services. So we start with that, 6 weeks only, evening. So we hope to do that, more and more often.
I heard you mention Boylan Heights. That's one of the neighborhoods. Like if I had to list some historic neighborhoods, I think that's one that would come up for me. But you mentioned earlier that there's 400 registered neighborhoods, 750 though. So there's a lot of registered there's a lot of potential for more registered neighborhoods. Can you give us a story or an example of what it means to preserve the history of some of these neighborhoods? Maybe thinking about a neighborhood that isn't on that top 5 list that most of us think about.
Well, I mentioned Boylan, which goes back to the early 1900s. The Glenwood, Brooklyn also goes back to the early 1900s. But I'm thinking Method Road. Method used to be pretty much African American, and there's a whole history. The community center photos that you can see, the old school still there, the building, the main building.
Oh yeah.
But Method Road now is a great combination of African American, Arabic, and Hispanic. The mosque is right on Method.
Right there in the middle of the neighborhood.
And you can hear the call to prayer, and it's exciting because there's so much going on. The NC State soccer campus fields are there also, so people come and play. at the community center, at the park. So we're also working with closely with the older people from the neighborhood to do something that now recognizes the new diversity of Method Road. So preserving the history, but also updating, what's new in Method. So if you go from the corner on Hillsborough Street to Western Boulevard, you can see the businesses, you can see the faces, you can hear the languages. We just had a I think it was a health fair, resources sponsored by Raleigh Parks and Recreation, and I was having a table along with Parks and Recreation staff, and I heard people speaking Spanish. Of course, I jump in. Of course. But then I heard people speaking French. I was also able to jump in, and they were like, "Oh, you speak my language? Well, un peu, a bit." But that helps build trust and,
absolutely
make connection. And there's always something they're looking for that you can provide: information, a contact, a phone number, email, a website. So it's exciting. Like Katie mentioned, public service. You're serving the public, not serving from the public, but serving the public.
And I just want to call out for folks who might not be watching this, who might just be listening, but as a public servant, watching your face light up. I mean, watching the smile as you were talking about, hearing the different languages and what it's like to walk through that neighborhood. Thank you for bringing that alive.
Yeah, thanks for
that was
sharing
really beautiful.
The history about Method. But it does actually, showing how you took, a challenge and you turned it into an opportunity with the languages. Katie, I asked the same question of you. What are some of the challenges that you've seen with, the planning or the Planning Academy and such, and how you turn those into opportunities?
Sure. So I would say, Luis hit on so many things that are obviously important to us, no matter what department you're in the city. And I think one of those challenges is, how do we hear from, new voices, right? We hear from a lot of the same people who know who we are. They know how to find us and communicate with us. But how do we hear from our more underserved communities or people who maybe we can't or don't care to access and take an online survey, right? And so we utilize and partner with our community engagement office and with our housing and neighborhoods department to try to get creative and meet people where they are and do things like pop-up events or participate in markets. We had a big Earth Day festival that a ton of our departments participated in. And how do we connect with those people? There is a lot of work being done in the city around language access. But then, our website, for example, has an accessibility tool so that people can interact with our website if they have vision impairment or need it in another language. And to that point, we try to write accessibly in communications so that those interpretive tools can work their best, right? Because we use accessible language. So how do we create those materials that people can take home to get the emails they're looking for, the phone numbers they want, to make sure they're connected with the right project manager to know what's going on in their neighborhood? All of those things are a challenge, right? And so we just try to creative new ways to connect with people and meet them again, like where they are.
And you said pop-up, which is a term not everybody's
exactly what I was thinking.
Good one, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted to call out pop-up, and also something I've seen popping up. Is that too corny? As I'm driving around, is I've seen the community engagement van live and on the road. And so can you tell us a little bit about pop-ups and for folks who maybe haven't seen this community engagement van, how that ties in?
Well, a pop-up is essentially exactly that. You pop up and show up in a place where people already are. So for example, a grocery store parking lot.
Okay.
The community engagement van is great because anyone in the city, as far as city staff goes, if they have an engagement opportunity, we're allowed to rent the van from the office and then take it places. And I think when people see it, they're like, what's going on over there? And then when you come over and check it out, we've got staff who are manning it and providing you with information most likely to do with that area that we've popped up in, right? Like we're pretty locally focused and people focused. We want to go where the people are that we want to talk to in the area that we're trying to do something, right? Like that's, we're not going to go to North Raleigh necessarily and be like, tell us what you think about what's happening in South Raleigh. I mean, there are those opportunities,
Sure.
but really when we pop up, it's because we want to hear from you and your neighbors about what's going on in your neighborhood.
It's just the coolest thing because
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks, when you think about getting involved with the city, I wonder how many people think of like an old episode of like the Parks and Rec show of like showing up to a town hall meeting or
It's
something.
very
And
relatable.
This is y'all are going to you mentioned a grocery store parking lot, or if there's a music festival going on, or if there's some kind of event, it doesn't have to be a city event. You're going to where people are, regardless of what's bringing them together. And I think I heard, as a citizen, I can request the community engagement van, not to drive around. I can't drive the community engagement
But
van.
we go
But
where
I
we
can
are
say,
invited.
Yeah,
hey,
Yes.
my neighborhood, maybe I'm going to go full circle with Luis here. Maybe I registered my neighborhood and I participated
Perfect.
in the Citizen Leadership Academy and I applied for level 1 of funding and I'm hosting a block party. And I think, you know what? A lot of my residents have a lot of questions about leaf collection. I'm going to request that the community engagement van come and talk to us about leaf pickup. And that's something that I can do.
And you will request from us the popcorn, snow cone, and cotton candy machine.
I can
And the
get
games
corn machine.
that we can provide to
That-
neighborhoods. Once registered, fill out a form, we check the schedule available, you got it.
So you get the kids all jacked up on
supplies included.
sugar, and then you
Absolutely.
educate them.
What's
Yeah.
the age limit on the CLA, the Citizen Leadership Academy? Because when my son hears that there's a snow cone machine available for rent, he's going to have lots of ideas for improving his neighborhood.
For Neighborhood College CLA, at least, a junior high school,
Makes
already looking for, do I go to college, what I'm going to study? Because I think that the experience of going to CLA and RNC helps a lot, connecting with people. Every volunteer opportunity is somebody you can shadow, eventually learn from. So, at least, upper level high school, it's good to go to the programs.
Thank you for sharing that. These are wonderful opportunities that we've learned about to meet people where they're at. And unfortunately, we have to take a quick break. But when we come back, we'll be playing another fun little game where you'll be taking on Sarah in a game called The Sound Around.
Exciting.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Big Ideas Raleigh podcast. Now it's time for Katie and Luis once again to take on Sarah in a new game we called The Sound Around.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
I think so.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to play a sound for you, and then you have to guess where or what this sound is. If you don't know it, I do have a part B because I think I'm going to stump you guys on this one.
Oh, so we can ask for a hint. We
Okay.
can phone a friend.
Okay.
Is
We
what
can
you're
phone
telling
a
us?
friend.
Okay.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Yes.
Here's your sound.
I'm going to say this, and it's coming from a place of just, this is a wild guess. Is that like a batting cage or something? That's
So it's not a bad guess.
okay.
It's not a bad guess, but I can't tell you if you're right or wrong yet
Okay.
until Katie and Luis have guessed.
Stay tuned.
Should we phone a friend? Because she did not phone a friend.
I don't know.
I feel like we should phone a
Because
friend.
I would say it sounds like a rock band, the drummer.
I was
but
feeling like a racket situation
Okay, so
of some sort.
phone
But
a
yeah,
friend?
can we phone the friend?
All right, here we go. Here is your clue. It stands about 10 feet tall, 8 feet wide, and weighs more than 1,200 pounds. Was originally made for the city in 1992 as a piece of public art that has become enough of a symbol for Raleigh to earn its own page with the Library of Congress.
Okay, so I don't think it was a batting cage.
I feel like that made it harder.
I have one last clue if you would like it.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Okay. On New Year's Eve, if you look really closely, you can see it as it falls. Your answer, sir?
the acorn.
It is the City of Raleigh brass acorn. Well, thank you guys for playing the sound around. And listeners at home, we hope that you maybe had guessed it as well. But before we let you guys go, we have just one last question. And we'd really love to know what's another big idea for Raleigh that you're working on or thinking about doing. Something we haven't asked that you'd love the listeners of Raleigh and people from all around to know about.
I think that my big idea around Raleigh right now and what people should pay attention to is what we call our Civic Tower project. You may notice that there's a big pile of dirt next to the Raleigh Municipal Building, and soon there will be a 17-story building that goes up right there on the corner. And that is going to be the future, I would say, center and heart of public service in Raleigh. It is going to be our new city hall for our city government. Our new chamber will be in there. And we have right now kind of a blog style report that we're doing online, so you can kind of keep up with the project as it goes. Cool. But by the end of that, that will be where people go to get in-person customer service for most, if not all, of our departments. And so to be able to have that space that we can all engage in together, be in one spot together, provide that extra level of customer service and kind of engagement around what we do at the city, I think is really special. And that building means a lot to us, and I think it should mean a lot to our community. And there will be events in the future where people will be able to tour it once it goes up. And I think that if you follow along with the project and join us in celebrating this awesome building, I think that when it opens, it will be a really cool opportunity for everyone to kind of come in and again, get the in-person customer service. We'll have new meeting spaces and places to be outside. And I think it'll be a great area for both the community and our staff.
Yeah, that's great. And you said it can be followed along with a blog. Where would one go?
If you go on our website, raleighNC.gov, and search Civic Tower, you'll see our updates page. So just follow along with our updates. And we try every week or two to kind of share what's going on with the site, what noises you might be hearing, what you might be seeing. And eventually we'll be sharing more stories about the people who are building the building, the people who will be running the building, and all the other things that come along with it. It'll be really cool.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Luis, yourself, what's the next big idea that you have for Raleigh?
Language access. Wake County gets 50 new people every day moving to the county, of which half come to Raleigh. So that's at least 5, 6, 7 new families from other cities, from other states, from other countries, and some of them speak a different language other than English. So how can the city be able to be open, accessible, welcoming? So recognizing the diversity, I think that's one thing. Allowing for inclusion, and then make people feel they belong.
Yeah,
that's my model. DIB.
Super important.
Let's DIB it. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And in that way, people are gonna feel welcome, belong, and they're gonna be more open to offer whatever they bring, skills, assets, experiences, background. So a more open city. I think that's really welcoming city. I think that will be my challenge to everybody in Raleigh, especially council, really be a welcoming city.
That's really beautiful. And I have to say, just being the resident, being the odd man out, I don't work at the city, but I got to hear insights into what you all do. And something that is going to stick with me is, Luis, the way that you talked about growth as it's a good problem to have. And that's not to minimize the problems that we see around growth, because those are real problems that are affecting people. But as a speaker, and you know this, Dan, I talk to you about this all the time. I travel to so many different cities.
Right.
And this year I've had an opportunity to speak in some cities that are labeled as dying cities. So these cities where more people are moving out than there are people moving in. And to see these cities where you go downtown and these commercial buildings are just empty and there's not a lot of growth in the city, those are very different problems. And I think without minimizing the problems of growth, recognizing that those are problems that affect people in very real ways, but also recognizing that if we had the choice between which problems to have, I think that is the problem we want. And so it's about managing it. And the way that you just described managing it in a way that focuses on inclusion and belonging, as a citizen, I just really appreciate that. So I'm humbled to be sitting amongst, 45 years of experience and service to the city here. So I just want to call out how much I appreciate all that you all do. Sure. And I'm really excited to go join. I'm going to join some academy. I don't know if it's the Planning Academy or CLA or something, but I'm going to join. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to get that T-shirt.
The most important thing, getting the t-shirt, right? Well, thank you so much, Luis and Katie, for sharing your work and highlighting the importance of resident engagement in the city planning and the impacts that it has on our community. It's so important. So thank you so much for being here.
Anytime.
You're welcome.
And thank you for listening to or watching this podcast. Give us a follow. Find the Big Ideas Raleigh podcast on any podcast app or on YouTube. We've got more great episodes coming your way as we dive deep into the heartbeat of our Oak City. And hey, if you have any ideas for our podcast, let us know. Visit our podcast page and learn how you can share your ideas with us. We'd love to hear from you. A special shout out to the production team behind this podcast, Earfluence, a Raleigh-based podcast production company. Learn more at earfluence.com. This podcast was brought to you by the City of Raleigh's Office of Strategy and Innovation, also known as the Office of Yes and the City of Raleigh Communication Department. I'm Dan Bagley, here with producer Dr. Sarah Glova, and we'll see you next time on the Big Ideas Raleigh podcast.